Chapter 4, Workforce, Jobs, and Job Analysis. Judging from the bios in the discussion forum, many of you are graduating soon and will be looking for jobs. Many of you have jobs and are working on careers and will presumably be looking for other, perhaps better jobs. From that, I must assume that the composition of the workforce is of some importance to all of you. How many jobs are out there, and what kinds of jobs are they? What is the quality of those jobs, and how many people are looking for those jobs, and how qualified are those people? How does a company determine what is involved when doing a certain job, and what are the requirements for that job? Now, the text covers these questions thoroughly, at least for our purposes, and provides a good basis for other topics we will cover, such as training and compensation. While the text covers this topic in terms of basic HRM practices and methodology, I'll try to take it to a more current event and practical perspective. I'll discuss the composition of the workforce as it is reported in the news every day. What do the numbers mean? What should we look for? How does our economy impact the numbers, and how do the numbers impact our economy? Are the numbers good or bad? And perhaps just as important, are they getting better or worse? I'll give you my take and also climb on my soapbox for a short time to discuss becoming a knowledgeable citizen. I should also point out that the workforce composition, unemployment rate, and other numbers I quote here change regularly. You may find the numbers I espouse here are not current. As a matter of fact, you probably will find they're not current. However, it's the trends that count, and the trends are pretty consistent. If you want the current numbers, you can find them online, and particularly at www.bls.gov. I'll also talk a little about teams and an often used cliche, self-managed teams. I'll give you a different perspective on self-managed teams and also a demonstration of how teams can be very effective. I believe in work teams and have a great deal of experience in developing teams and transitioning workplaces to the team philosophy. I am passionate about teams. However, I believe transitioning to teams is a very long-term project, not just a buzzword to make the company look more progressive. At the end of the lecture, I'll pose some questions that will make you think about the future. What will your workplace look like, and how prepared will you be to fully participate in it? We will probably discuss the future workplace more in the discussion forum, and I'll look forward to your views as well. So let's take a look at a topic that is traditionally viewed as dry and boring. But in light of the rapidly changing work environment, I find it very exciting and challenging. You're probably shaking your head and saying, this boy really needs to get some help. And perhaps once again, you're right. Workforce, jobs, and job analysis made exciting. Chapter 4, Workers, Jobs, and Job Analysis. So let's talk a bit about the labor force, those people available and willing to work. Those people that we can hire for our open positions if we're a business. Labor force numbers are in the news frequently since the economy is so bad and jobs seem to be disappearing at a steady rate. Now, I should point out that the statistics that I cite in this lecture are current as of the lecture, but by the time you watch it, those numbers will probably change since they change constantly. If you want the current numbers, please go online and you can look them up. Also understand, as I'm going to point out in a minute, we're really not interested in specific numbers, we're interested in trends. So, what does this bad economy and disappearing jobs mean to you as a potential or maybe actual job seeker? And what does that mean to organizations who have a need for specific talent? Well, the implications for you, the job seeker, are great, and I'm sure you already know those. But you should be asking, why do the numbers look so bleak for me, and how do I read those numbers? And I should point out, as I said earlier, that the numbers are less important than the trends. It's a little like looking at your family budget. A single month in the red, of course, matters, particularly how much in the red. But 1 month in the red does not a bankruptcy make. Several consecutive months in the red, signifying a negative trend, should be cause for great alarm. And in many of the employment numbers, we are seeing that trend. Now, I have been fortunate enough to live through many different ups and downs in our economy. Well, maybe calling it fortunate is a stretch, but interesting is certainly applicable. I remember when inflation was 10% or more and mortgage rates were 15% or more. I can remember times when unemployment was high and jobs were tough to find, and times when unemployment was around 4% and there were far more jobs available than workers. Those were the good times, by the way. With all that background, I have to say the economy is bad now. Democrats will tell you the economy is improving, while Republicans will tell you it's stagnant, but the real truth is it's not good. And much of what's bad about our economy is tied up in the workforce, and most of the solutions are tied up in the workforce as well, at least in my opinion. Factors to consider are: how many jobs are there for people in the labor force? What are the jobs available? What is the quality of those jobs? Are they good paying or poor paying jobs? Are they part-time or full-time jobs? Are they temporary or permanent positions? And how many new jobs are being created each month? And what is the quality of those new jobs? And this is a point where there are many issues today. We're creating new jobs, but they're not high quality jobs. And how many people are actually in the labor force? And is that number increasing or decreasing? What is the unemployment rate? And what is the unemployment rate within various groups, such as young people, or minorities, or males, or females, etc.? What is the education level of the workforce? Where is the workforce located, in urban or rural communities? Where is the open jobs located, in urban or rural communities? And it's good if those two are the same. What is the median income for the middle class? Is it going up or down? Now, there are probably more factors that I have omitted, but this gives you an idea that no one number tells the story. And remember, the numbers don't mean anything. It's the trends that count. So let's look at some of these trends to see what's up. I suspect we'll talk more about this in our chapter questions and in the discussion forum. The labor force participation rate consists of those people working and looking for work as a percentage of the population. The text states that this number peaked before 2000 at 67% and has been shrinking to a current level of around 65%. Now, I'm sure that was correct when the text was written in late 2013 or early 2014, but the current labor participation rate is around 62.8%. That is most certainly a negative trend. That means that less people are participating in the labor market. Some have retired as the older population grows, but many have simply given up on finding work and stopped looking for employment. Well, how do they live? How do they exist without work and income? Well, their income is generated off of welfare, disability programs, and other social welfare programs. That means that someone is paying, and it is essentially those who are working and paying taxes. The more people pay in taxes, the less they pay for goods and services, and the less people that are needed to make those goods and services. A decreasing labor participation rate is generally not a good sign of a healthy economy. Now, the current national unemployment rate, those unemployed and looking for work, is around 5%. And from June 2004 through the middle of 2008, the unemployment rate was around 5% and as low as 4.4%. After mid-2008, the unemployment rate steadily climbed to well over 9% and has been declining since 2012 to our current rate. This unemployment rate is trending in the right direction, but there are still some potential problems in this trend. Decreasing unemployment rate normally means more people are finding jobs. However, it could also mean that more people are dropping out of the labor market and as a result of the decreasing labor force participation rate. And I suspect that is partially true in our current situation. Another concern with decreasing unemployment numbers is that the jobs people are getting may not be quality jobs. They may be part-time or low-paying or temporary. And I suspect that is also true in our current situation to some extent. Therefore, the 5% unemployment rate may be understated. A third concern with unemployment numbers is that the rate of unemployment in various segments of the population. For example, the unemployment rate for people 20 to 25 years of age is about 8.8%. It is also speculated that many people in that age group are underemployed or working at positions far less than their qualifying education. This is a person with a master's degree working the counter at Starbucks. Regardless of the composition of the unemployment rate, the trend is negative, which is good. But 5% is still way too high to signify a healthy economy. So, how does education of the workforce contribute? It is safe to say that many jobs are lost due to technological advances. Also, there are open positions in the labor market right now. However, many of those open positions require specific skills or higher education. If the labor force population does not possess the proper education for the open positions, then the unemployment numbers are difficult to change to any great extent. I remember when there were many unskilled and relatively good paying jobs available. That is not the case in today's economy. Unskilled jobs are fast being replaced by automation. I remember when an undergraduate degree was a ticket to success. Now, in many professional areas, a graduate degree is required for entry. The world is changing, and changing fast. Depending on who is giving the message, Democrat or Republican, the numbers you hear will be spun to support the political agenda of the reporter. None of these numbers tells the whole story, but even with the spin, we can draw some conclusions. The picture is not good for business or for you. Both political parties are to blame, and neither are doing anything to improve the economy. Perhaps the most alarming trend of all is the honesty trend among our elected officials. Honesty is certainly on a negative slide. From my own perspective, the only way to improve our economy and improve our lives is to become politically knowledgeable. I'm not saying that you should have to become a political activist. I'm merely suggesting that you should know enough about the news around you that you can tell if people in our government are lying to you or telling the truth and act upon that conclusion by voting. Politically knowledgeable is not difficult, although it can be painful at times, but it is our responsibility to our children. It is a responsibility that my generation failed to meet, and now your generation is reaping the negative results. Don't do the same to your children. Now I will climb down from my soapbox and discuss job design. Any organization has a product that makes money. It may be an object, it may be advice, it may be educational, it may be spiritual, it may be expertise, it can be anything. Those products do not produce themselves, so activities, either completed or supervised by humans, must take place to turn raw materials into the product. Those activities have value, and those humans who produce the activities must be paid for their services. How the activities are grouped constitutes job design. Job design has changed substantially through the years. I can remember when manufacturing jobs were broken down into the most intricate movements and were simplified to the point that many of the jobs were so repetitive that they were mindless. In fact, the descriptive recruiting term was, you can leave your brain at the door because you won't need it here. In more recent times, by the way, those old times were in the 70s and 80s and before, jobs have been expanded to include more discretion and decision making on the part of occupants. The text discusses teams, but does not discuss them in any real detail. They discuss special purpose teams, self-directed teams, and virtual teams. I have worked with all three extensively, and during the latter part of my career specialized in transforming traditional management organizations into team-based organizations. I believe in teams. I believe teams can be successfully used in any organization, but it is very difficult and time-consuming transition. I have seen firsthand the remarkable change in traditionally managed organizations when they tap into the brain power and skills of all employees in an organized manner. When I worked for Crown Wood Products, a subsidiary of RCA Corporation, we transitioned that company of over 600 hourly employees into teams and allowed them significant input into the producing of our product. I have seen workers with less than a high school education studying advanced math principles and attending company-sponsored classes weekly to learn as much as possible about the work processes and how to improve our competitive position. When I worked for Nestle USA, we started a facility from the ground up, new construction and new facility, and hired all the employees into a team-based company. Employees were integral in writing and modifying many of the policies that impacted their workplace. The employees exceeded all of our expectations in their ability to contribute to the success of the business. However, in all of my experience, I have reached a conclusion regarding self-directed teams that differs with the text. I don't believe that self-directed teams are effective or real. All teams of humans need direction. They need someone to provide leadership and direction to achieve the work at hand. That is not a statement directed at the weakness of workers, but the basic nature of people. We want some direction. It is merely a matter of how much direction is appropriate. I believe individuals seek direction. How would you feel if I listed the text on Canvas and told you there will be an exam at the end of the semester? Learn as much as you can on your own. That's self-directed. Is it effective and efficient? Is it the best way to learn? Some guidance is necessary. While working for Nestle, we decided to conduct a non-scientific experiment related to self-directed work teams. Our teams were structured such that each production line had one team leader, often called a supervisor in other organizations. Normal production lines were divided into three parts, and due to refrigeration walls separating the three parts, team leaders were unable to physically see all parts of the same line. While a team leader was in one part of the line, the other two parts were running without direct supervision. In addition, team leaders had many other duties requiring office time, further ensuring that they were unable to directly provide supervision for any length of time. The teams were still not self-managed because they had a member of management, the team leader, providing direction. As we completed our startup chaos, we gradually assigned two production lines to one team leader, further spreading the direction. The facility was clearly team-oriented, but not self-directed. Still, we wondered how effective self-managed teams would be. One of our best team leaders was scheduled to leave on vacation for 1 month. We decided that during that time we would not assign another team leader, but would allow the production line to be self-directed. Every morning, a production scheduler would give someone on the team, the recipient would vary each day, a card with the expected production and quality numbers for that day, as well as the results of production for the previous day. That was the only interaction with upper management. Then we observed behaviors. The person receiving the information always took the information to an informal leader on that part of the line. That informal leader then huddled with two other informal leaders from the two other parts of the line. They discussed the production numbers, the quality requirement, and asked questions as necessary. They then separated into their respective parts of the line, huddled workers, and work was assigned. This process happened every day. Production requirements and quality requirements were met and exceeded daily. The experiment proved that engaged employees can conduct themselves in a professional and successful manner. Then one day there was a dispute between two workers. Two of the informal leaders came to my office to complain about the workers and asked that I intervene. I explained that they were responsible and they should solve the problem. One looked at me and said, "You don't understand. We can manage our own production and production activities, but when dealing with people problems, we have to live and work with these people every day. It takes someone that is detached to resolve those issues. We need your help." They were right, of course. Some problems can't be solved from the inside. They require an authority figure to provide direction. Self-directed teams work for a period of time and for a range of circumstances. But there always must be someone to provide direction in those situations that are out of bounds. By the way, I called the two employees in question into my office and we had a discussion. I explained that they needed to resolve their differences and help them do so. There were no further problems. Now, the text enters into a discussion of relatively new work practices such as telework, flex time, job sharing, etc. I would advise you to read this material because that is the face of the future. It is a natural progression in our changing culture, just like this internet course is a natural progression in education. The virtual workplace is becoming more common and from all accounts is working to the advantage of many organizations. From a company perspective, telework saves money, reduced office expense, and reduced brick and mortar expense. It allows a company to leverage talent and expertise from all over the world without relocation and transitions. It is a change in our work culture that bears monitoring. Also, the text includes a detailed discussion of job analysis. I'll not consume your time by reiterating and detailing that information, but please read and understand the concept and components of job analysis. The workplace is changing rapidly and dramatically. The change is fueled by changes in our families, more single parent families, changes in our economy, less good paying and unskilled jobs, changes in technology, flexible schedules and telework and utilization of robotics, changes in customer expectations, more people skills required in all jobs, changes in competition, global competition is a factor, and many other factors. All of these translate into changes in job structure and design. So how do we effectively monitor the work of someone working from their home? How does an organization know that they are getting their money's worth from an employee? How does a company protect their intellectual property when employees are working from a single location on company computers? How does a company protect customers' private information when that information is displayed on computers and in files all over the world? I don't know, but it's definitely a situational problem requiring individual organizational solutions. I believe we are transitioning from a pay for task workplace to a pay for knowledge and expertise workplace. In the old days, we paid for physical labor of employees, very task oriented and very structured. Today, we pay for expertise and knowledge of employees. They are given broad direction and goals and left to accomplish those goals in an appropriate manner with broad parameters of direction. In this class, I give you weekly assignments and you are left to your own devices to schedule those requirements into your personal life and ensure they are accomplished in a timely manner. I then insert accountability in the form of a quiz to ensure that you have learned the appropriate information during the week. That is very different than meeting in class regularly and monitoring your progress during the week. How much structure is enough and how much is too much? The fact that some students love internet classes because they are less structured and others hate them because they are less structured indicates that we are still in a transition period. Not everyone is adept at this new learning environment. However, as students and employees progress in the technological age, I believe we will see less classroom instruction and more internet classes. We will see less brick and mortar in schools and more technology. We will see less classroom structure and more freedom to learn individual ways. So what does this mean for all organizations? We will have to change how people are compensated. Our incentive programs will need to change. Goal setting skills will become more important, and communication in general will be more challenged. How we train employees will change. Will be more webinars, for example, and how we monitor work behavior will change. Safety and security, particularly of data, will become more difficult. Buildings will become smaller and less important as the work moves into private homes and away from the central office. Recruiting will become more global and the competition you will face in the labor market will become more intense. Highly skilled and knowledgeable employees will be able to work for more than one company since they are not tied to a 9-to-5 job in one building. And this will raise a whole new set of problems. Our recruiting and selection methods and criteria must change. Due to globalization, our workforce must migrate from a task-oriented, manufacturing-based environment to a service-oriented environment with a high technology and people skills base. All of this means that organizations must change and change quickly. I don't believe these changes are decades away. I believe they are now. The health of our business is only as good as our lead on our competitors. Anything that destroys or impedes that competitive advantage will spell danger for our organization. Remember when I was critical of HR and stated that many of the HR community are dealing with problems of today and not driving organizations towards the challenges of tomorrow? I've just described some of the challenges of tomorrow. If we are only protecting our intellectual property and private data in today's environment, can we protect those from the threats of tomorrow? If we pay and reward for today's environment, can we recruit the proper employees for tomorrow? I doubt that we can in all of these respects. HRM must have a foot firmly placed in today's environment and simultaneously planted in the future for success to be sustained. HRM practices dictate the success or failure of organizations now and in the future.